Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Suhayl the Seeking Fox podcast. Really quickly, if you're new here, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more deep dives. Okay, so today, we've got an explainer that is literally going to challenge how we look at the world around us, and honestly, our place in it. We're diving into this incredibly profound Qur'anic concept called Iṣlāḥ. Essentially, it's the calling to restore and repair. Look, if you ever feel just completely exhausted because we seem to be constantly stuck in this endless age of outrage, well, you're definitely going to want to pay close attention to what we're unpacking today. So let me ask you this. Who is actually repairing what's broken? Kind of a heavy question, right? I mean, we live in a modern culture that literally rewards exposing problems. Think about it. Every single day, on every social media feed, we're surrounded by people just criticizing institutions, highlighting failures, condemning each other. It's so easy to be a critic nowadays. It's basically the default setting of our era. But true repairers, wow, they are exceedingly rare. So this explainer is all about shifting our mindset. We want to move away from just passive observation and critique and move toward active, meaningful repair. And that's exactly why we need to understand the true depth of this term, Iṣlāḥ. If you look at the Aramaic root, Sād, Lam, and Ha, at its absolute core, it means to become sound, to reconcile, and to actively cultivate good. Just listen to the phrasing here. The deliberate act of restoring something to the sound and wholesome state Allah intended for it. It's not just complaining about a problem, and it's not even just opposing evil. It's rolling up your sleeves and actively cultivating the good. It is highly, highly intentional repair. Now, to really grasp Iṣlāḥ, we've got to look at its direct opposite in the Qur'an, Fasād. This roughly translates to corruption, decay, disorder, and ruin. And this contrast between repairing and decaying, man, it appears all throughout the Qur'an. The crucial point here is that these two concepts are basically locked in this constant push and pull. Wherever this decay, this facade exists in the world, the believer is directly called to step in with Islāḥ and set things right. You're not supposed to just sit back on the sidelines and watch things fall apart. But wait, here's where we really need to distinguish Islāḥ from what we usually think of as reform today. Because modern reform, it often focuses on overthrowing and demolishing existing structures. Tearing everything down to the ground just to start over. But Quranic Iṣlāḥ is totally different. It's an organic restoration. Think of it like a beautiful, historic building. If the foundation is sound, Iṣlāḥ doesn't bring in a wrecking ball. No way. Instead, it asks, what was this relationship, or this family, or this society originally created to be? And then it does the careful, loving work of restoring that beautiful building right back to its original glory and intended purpose. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Fasād only applies to massive, dramatic global issues, right? Actually, no. Let's break down the nuances here. We're talking about everyday things: dishonesty, broken families, injustice, oppression, exploitation, corruption, arrogance, and even needless conflict. These are everyday distortions of harmony. So it's not just about massive global wars or environmental collapse. It includes the subtle decay in our daily interactions that spreads disorder through our communities. When arrogance or just a petty, needless conflict enters a room, that is Fasād. And wherever Fasād is, Islāḥ is required to step in and restore harmony. Which brings us to this absolutely incredible verse from the Qur'an, chapter 4, verse 114. It says, "There's no good in much of their private conversation except for one who enjoins charity, kindness, or reconciliation, Islāḥ, between people." I mean, just notice what is being praised here. It's not about endlessly analyzing problems, talking in circles, or winning an argument in some online comment section. The actual mending of relationships is placed far, far above just talking. It's all about action over endless critique. Okay, moving into the next section, the beautiful turning point, from internal success to external repair. So this right here represents a core paradigm shift in our explainer today. We're mapping the journey from who you are on the inside, like the internal formation of a believer, to the external impact you have on the world. Because honestly, the truth is, you can't repair the world if you're entirely broken on the inside. It's this profound chronological progression. First, Dhikr repairs your attention, focusing your mind on what actually matters. Second, Shukr, or gratitude, repairs your perception of reality. Third, Barakah repairs your understanding of abundance, showing you that less can actually be more. Fourth, Falah, ultimate success, repairs your understanding of what winning really means in this life. And finally, the fifth step, Iṣlāḥ. Once you're healed internally, Iṣlāḥ calls you to step outward. You heal yourself internally so you can become a force of restoration externally, wherever you go.
Notice how beautifully these final two stages relate to one another. Falah asks the core question, what kind of person are you becoming? The focus is entirely on internal flourishing. But Iṣlāḥ asks, what kind of world are you helping create? So the focus shifts outward to external healing. It's like, just as a flourishing tree naturally, inevitably bears fruit, a believer who has achieved that internal falah naturally steps outward to heal the world through Iṣlāḥ. One just flows directly and beautifully into the other.
And we can really see this when we look at the ultimate examples of this behavior. Every single prophet was a muslāḥ, one who restores. This is the prophetic model. They didn't just stand on the sidelines and write think pieces criticizing their societies. They actively repaired hearts. They reconciled divided people. They restored justice where it had been lost, and they revived forgotten truths. Their mission was never destruction just for the sake of destruction. It was always, always restoration. Okay, let's bring this theology right down to earth. How do we actually do this today? Well, mend a relationship that's gone cold. Encourage someone who's struggling. Correct an injustice in your workplace or your community. Heal a misunderstanding before it has a chance to fester into something worse. Or simply, just leave a place better than you found it. You know, we so often confuse having awareness with taking action. We think just knowing about a problem is enough. But righteousness is measured by what we actively restore, not just by what we boldly oppose. Which brings us to a thought that perfectly summarizes the entire thesis of our explainer today. The highest calling is not simply to diagnose the world's wounds, but to become, by Allah's permission, one of the hands through which healing begins. Just let that sink in for a second. The world has absolutely no shortage of people who can point out what's broken. What it desperately needs are hands that are willing to do the careful, sometimes unglamorous, but incredibly beautiful work of healing. So I want to leave you with this deeply personal, maybe even a little provocative question. What have you repaired today? Seriously, think about it. In your home, your workplace, your community, what did you set right? We all have a sphere of influence where our hands can begin that healing. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If this sparked some reflection for you and you want to keep exploring these concepts, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Suhayl the Seeking Fox podcast for more deep dives. Let's get out there and start repairing. Catch you next time.